Sup guys, it's desRow. Welcome to Remax episode 18. Today I have three wonderful guests with me, some returning, and also Kane, who hasn't been on in a while. Actually, he's been in Europe living the life. Actually, me and Rotterdam were watching DreamHack together, and we saw Kane with a lady, and we saluted our hat. We were really happy for him. Anyway, Kane, how are you?
Thanks, Ezra.
What have you been up to?
I'm good. I've been traveling a bit. I'm back in Canada now, and yeah, just kind of taking it easy, getting reacquainted with all my friends, family. So not playing too much StarCraft, but I've had time to watch IEM and a couple other events like DreamHack, obviously. So yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
Nice. And would you like to talk to us about the commercial you were in?
Yeah. So my Insanity just got sponsored by World of CD Keys, and it's basically a website where you can buy cheap CD keys for games. And yeah, I did a commercial where I dressed as a pirate and stuff. So I'll link it in chat if that's okay with you.
Oh yeah, of course. I was going to anyway.
Okay.
I really like the part where you're all proud of like your acting, and you look to the left, and you're like, "Hey guys, I did it."
Because we actually did about like 20 or 30 takes because they were all pretty bad, and then I finally got a decent one, and I looked to the camera right away, which wasn't a good idea. So they weren't able to cut that out, I guess. But yeah, it was really fun doing it anyways. So I'll link that.
What about you, Nathanias? What have you been up to?
I I was just in Europe for a couple weeks. We finished up Fragbite Masters, and yeah, just been chilling, you know.
Yeah, you enjoyed casting Fragbite Master last weekend?
Yeah, it was fun. It was a pretty weird tournament as far as results go, but yeah, I really liked being in Sweden. I'm glad in some ways to be back, sad in some ways to leave that wonderful country, but yeah, you know, the future will hold more there for me, I'm sure.
What about you, Kevin, casting IEM? That fun?
Yep. Well, that's what I did. I was casting IEM. Just
Yeah.
came back last night. It was pretty fun. Good times with the boys, especially with Apollo. Apollo's really fun. We had some good times. Had some unfortunate incidents as well on the way to San Jose. It's safe to say that I worked for nothing the entire weekend because it costed me way more to get there. But other than that, still good times.
Yeah, your car didn't survive the 7-hour trip.
No, it survived. Just a couple of bruises.
Oh.
My car is like me, you know. It bruises easily. No, I'm just kidding.
Did you get hit?
I saw a picture of you guys getting pulled over too by the police.
Yeah, that too, but that's the least of the worries.
Did you get
I can survive a ticket, but the car damage is a little more expensive.
So
But
someone
you know,
ran
so be
into
it.
you?
Other
or-
than that, it's fun though.
Kevin,
I'm
someone...
happy to be back. Gonna be streaming a lot.
Kevin, I'm just curious. Did someone run into you with their car, or drove
No,
into
no,
you?
no. No, the thing is, we decided to take the scenic route, which is the Pacific one. It's really beautiful. It's like the sickest highway, I think, in the US. But the problem is, like, the fucking one day of the year that I drive it, like, it starts raining and it starts getting really windy. And the highway basically goes through the mountains. And, like, it's like one end, it's like beaches, and the other end, it's mountains. And apparently, if it starts getting rainy and windy, there will be some mudslides. So a bunch of rocks fell off the mountains like all the time. And I hit a few.
What the fuck?
And my rims were not rock proof. I'll
Yeah.
tweet a picture later of my rims. And then
That's
people can be
so
like-
unlucky.
Yep. I mean, there were people who were more unlucky than I was. Like, I hit relatively big rocks, but I saw someone who hit a freaking massive boulder with his car. His car started smoking immediately, and it was like white smoke coming out of the engine and stuff. So it could have been worse, but it wasn't pleasant. But we survived. That's all that matters, you know.
Yeah, of course. As
It's
long as
just
you're
money.
Yeah, money's
And
money.
Even though money's money, it's just money.
Yeah. Yo, what the fuck? That announcement.
Yeah.
Twitch buys EG. Why? Well, I guess.
What?
Twitch
What happened?
buys.
Twitch just bought EG.
Yeah.
Uh,
I guess we can discuss it. Why, Nathanias?
I mean, I don't know like how many people know about this, but it's not really like a secret. It's also in the announcement thingy. But EG is like the company that owns EG got bought by Twitch, the
Oh.
Good Game agency network thingy, who manage the talent and shit that under all the umbrellas. So they vicariously through that they own EG.
That's gonna.
I imagine it's mostly for the people involved rather than, I'm
Yeah.
pretty surprised if they like took over the actual team itself.
So basically, Alex Garfield got a big payout, right?
Probably.
Well, good for him. He's been putting in a lot of good work. Maybe we'll have Richard Lewis make an article so we the commoners can understand what's really happening. Alright, so we have a lot to talk about on the show. There were 3 tournaments last weekend. IEM San Jose, Hot6ix Cup, and Fragbite Master. We're going to go in order, and then we'll do the community stuff in the second part. And then, at the end, your viewer questions. There's a Reddit thread, which is not linked in the chat, because I fucked up. But let's start with IEM San Jose. Happened last week. The first open bracket matches were on Wednesday. It was a pretty crazy open bracket. Some people didn't show up. Violet got sick. Root Hydra didn't make it as well. But Nathanias, did you see any like outstanding results in those open brackets? Something that stood out to you?
I'm gonna pull it up real quick to see some of the other matches because I wasn't, like the time zone for this was pretty terrible where I was. But I watched some of the open bracket games, and I wasn't really surprised too much by what I saw. Like, I watched like Huck play his PBT match against Gumiho, and I watched Puck play him. I was mostly watching for the American guys to see how far they could get. Intense had a pretty good series against Caliber, but I don't know. I was kind of surprised that he wasn't able to beat Huck mostly because Huck seems to have a pretty bad mindset about PBT now. But Puck beating Xanster, I expected. He's always been good at PVZ, and I don't know. I guess I had too much bias for Puck because I paid his flight to come out here and actually go play in the tournament. So I was really pulling for him, but I wasn't like sad that Huck won or anything.
Intense was really, really far ahead though. Game number 2 against Hawk, like he was up 1-0, and game 2 he was pretty damn far ahead. Like if that would have just been a ladder game or something, I'm 90% sure he would have won. He was like up a base, he was up 15 workers, he was up 30 army supply, just wasn't able to finish it. But people often look at the results and then you see, Hawk 2-1 Intense, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But that series was actually like, it was an inch away from being 2-0 for Intense.
Yeah, for sure. If Intense has a little bit more experience, I'm pretty sure it was his first like broadcasted match, played in front of like a camera or whatever. So Intense has has a really bright future for 2015. Huck making it out of open bracket is a nice result, surprising result, considering. I guess there wasn't any more Koreans than that.
I would say Huck was the favorite to make it out of that, along with the 2 Koreans.
But then there was a second open bracket where our man Harstem, damn, I'm really sad for him. Beating Symbol, almost beating True, and then losing the rematch versus Symbol, so he doesn't make it. And then 3 Zergs makes it out of that group. Kevin, which series did you enjoy casting the most?
I didn't cast too many games actually from Harstem, but I watched them all, of course. And he got really unfortunate because he played very well in the first series against Symbol. He played pretty damn good against True as well. Came so close to like going all the way, but
You have the Dutch pride when you watch him?
Oh yeah, no, like I don't care too much about the fact whether he's Dutch or not. Kevin is just a really nice guy, so he's I consider him as one of my friends in the scene. He came very close, he had a good run, and he got very unlucky in that second series against Symbol. Like first game, pretty much everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, and then game number 2, pretty much the same. I asked Symbol, who went like hedge first 5 times in a row. I was like, why did you go 9-pool this time? He's like, well, I think he think I go hedge first many times, so this time. No go. It's really sick, how he makes that call or guess that the first time he doesn't go hedge first, he actually straight up blind counters the build from Kevin, and Kevin knew immediately it was game over. But what annoyed me about it even more is that Symbol then advanced to the main tournament, and I kind of hope that we would see some of the old Symbol. You know, it was actually like a legitimately really really good player. But all he did in like all three of his series was just making a bunch of Zerglings and trying to win with it, like Zergling bust, Zergling bust, Zergling bust. It was like the most uninspiring Zerg play that I've ever seen in my life. It didn't really make any sense. I mean, he made a Roach Nidus all in as well, but it was just unfortunate because I would have loved to see him play some real games.
Mm-hmm. That's something I was talking about earlier with Kane. Is Arstem only had to play Zergs in that tournament? Kane, what do you think? Do you think that has a factor to him losing in the end to Symbol?
I mean, I know Hearthstone's a pretty aggressive player in PvZ. I don't know if he changed his style, but a ways back he definitely was. So after that first series, if I were Symbol, I would be watching out for like anything that could be considered cheese or all-in-ish. And yeah, I think it definitely does have a factor. We even see like in a lot of group stages nowadays, the way the GSL groups work, where you play the first match and then there's a chance that you play them again.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the times they'll lose the first match and then they'll go on to win the next match. So yeah, and Koreans are really good at adapting. We even saw that in like Hero versus Snoot, which was in a bit later of the tournament. But yeah, I think it definitely does come into play.
Mm-hmm. Okay, moving on. Group A, B, C, and D. Nothing too surprising, I think.
Snoot versus True was really surprising for a lot of people.
Did you mean True winning?
Like the True versus Snoot in the decider match.
Main event.
And yeah.
Why?
Because Snoot won that 2-0.
But isn't like Snoot got liked here in ZVZ versus like every Zerg he always plays?
Like he's good. He's definitely good. He's probably one of the better ZVZs, obviously in the foreign scene.
Mm-hmm.
But when I think of True, I think of his games versus Sue. I think in the round of 4 of GSL or round of 8,
Mm-hmm.
and those were really sick. So I think that True is definitely favored in that series. I don't think anybody can really argue that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What about Revival making a comeback and finishing first of his group over Polton first?
Yeah, I think that was a little bit surprising. I do want to correct you a little bit, okay? Because I really didn't find it surprising at all that Snoot was beating True. Like, I know if they play 2 times, that Snoot will win at least one series the majority of the time. That first series he lost against True. In both games, he was just like thinking already of a different phase in the game, while True was being ridiculously aggressive and just like pretty much punished him on a little bit of minor greed. But Snoot already said back then, and like I gave him a little talk as well, and I was like, I wouldn't sweat it. You're gonna play him again anyway, at least most likely. I like Chris a lot, but I don't think that Chris was gonna beat Snoot. Like I just don't really see that happening, and I didn't think that True was gonna beat Rain, even though that was pretty close, I have to admit. So it was pretty obvious they were gonna play again, and Snoot's like, yeah, okay, maybe you're right, Roddy. I'm just gonna play safer. I'm not gonna take any risk anymore. And I don't think that True is a better ZVZ player than Snoot. So
You don't think so?
No, I wasn't shocked by that result at all. If I had a bet and it was even odds, I would always bet on Snoot.
I think Huck had some really solid games versus Snoot.
I didn't see them, but yeah, it was a close series apparently, right?
Yeah, like the problem with I have with Huck's play is whenever he plays versus Swarmos, he seems to be a little bit careless with his units. Like he tries to be super aggressive, and it's always like walking the line of like doing super amazing or dying horribly, and so he always trips over the line, and that puts him behind. But if he can like manage to find a good way to play versus Swarmos, I think he could have beaten Snoot. Like they're pretty close in skill, despite Snoot obviously having a lot more achievements this year than Huck. Group C, Gumio for GG. Gumio, were you happy, Nathanias, of Gumio finally shining?
I always like to see Gumiho play. I actually more on the 4GG end because like I tried to watch his games,
Mm-hmm.
and actually I was like, all right, I'm just gonna sneakily look through some of the VODs where you guys are talking about it because I told you before like the time zone didn't really let me watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched the whole 4GG Hyun series in like a span of 2 minutes because everything that happened was just like, oh, he killed him with Mass Hellion Banshee. I'm like, well, those weren't really games. I get the feeling that that's all he did against Symbol as well, but. I was mostly glad Gumiho went through because he's one of those guys that for a little while we didn't hear much from him, and that made me sad because I'm a big Gumiho fan.
Yeah, it used to be really big in Wings of Liberty. For those that weren't around for Wings of Liberty, there was a team called FXO. They were before that they were called Foyu, and Gumio was like he was carrying all the team, most of the team in GSTL. He beat Slayers, and I think it was 5-0. And he always had these sick TVZs where he would do like insane drops. Like he would pick up tanks and there was like a 2-tank drop with a bunch of bio like everywhere all the time. He was really good, but he was never like winning or making it like super deep into individual tournaments. So it's really nice that he got to shine there. Group D. I had hopes for QXC because QXC's TVP to me feels like really strong. But Super and Hero obviously are just outclass him quite a lot. Rotterdam, what were your thoughts on Group D?
QXC played very well against Bomber in his first series, even though Bomber wasn't apparently not like in tip-top shape, but he still made top 4 in the tournament, and he's still Bomber, you know.
Yeah.
So I actually thought like you could really see that QXC has been working hard, that he's been playing more because he was really keeping up, you know, in speed for a while with Bomber. But in the end, it was just a few minor moments, just a couple of times, you know, where experience shines through. A couple of times he commits when he shouldn't, and Bomber like defended better than you would perhaps expect. But overall, it was a really good effort. He played well. I didn't see the loser bracket series. He played against Super in that one. Maybe I did see it. How did those games go?
I didn't see them. It's a little bummer that, just to criticize the tournament here for a second, it's a bummer that all these players that lost in the 4th place didn't get to play on stage or on the mainstream. But, yeah, no, so he ended up losing to Super, and then Bomber finished 2nd after that. Moving on to stage 3. So many crazy games. I think the best of 5 format worked out really well. I think after having a crappy DreamHack where every series was 3-0, having a bunch of 3-2s made it really exciting. Kane, can you talk to us about Eero versus Snoot?
Yeah, so I feel bad for Snoot because at IEM Toronto he was up 2-0 versus Flash, and then he did like 3 really aggressive builds, and each time Flash defended and killed him pretty much. And here he was up 2-0 versus Hero, and then 3 games in a row he lost again. So you really got to feel bad for Snoot, but at the same time, like he's so close to beating these, you know, top tier Koreans. It makes me really wonder what 2015 is going to do because, you know, he's not like. It's not like he's getting stomped by these guys. He's so close to beating them, just a little bit more, and he's got it. So as soon as he manages to work out his mindset or whatever the problem is, I don't even know what the problem is, but as soon as he works it out, he's going to be beating a lot of really good players.
But then again, there's the issue of all the Koreans leaving Europe. The Gem House closed down. So do you think Snoot needs to go to Korea for 2015 just to practice?
I think that he would want to. I don't think that he will. I don't think so. I could be wrong. But yeah, I've spoken to him about this a little, so I think no, I think he's not the type to get worse just because the Koreans leave or anything. He might not improve as fast, but he'll still be the top foreigner for sure.
Okay. What about you, Rotterdam? Did you cast Hero versus Snoot? Did you watch it? I think your mic's muted. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I replied to someone on Twitter. I didn't want to do it with my microphone open. Yes, I casted Hero versus Snoot. He played Hero, like Snoot played so well, especially like on Overgrowth. You know, if you give Overgrowth to Snoot, Swamos player, he's almost not going to lose. The biggest, or the saddest moment of that series was definitely the Nimbus game, where Hero went for 2 base, pretty much Blink Stalker all in, you know, he really had to do crazy amount of damage with it, but Snoot scouted it in time, he macroed well, he smacked it down, he killed a lot of Stalkers. Of course his economy wasn't too high because, you know, he's defending an all in, but there was no follow-up for Hero, and it would have been very difficult for Hero to go up to 3 bases. It's just so unfortunate that he wasn't able to go all the way. Like, as soon as he defended the attack, he started running across the map immediately with all of his roaches and links, and he just like funneled up that little ramp to the main base. And I really didn't understand why he did that. He didn't have to do it at all. So that was unfortunate because Nimbus was really the game where Snoot should have closed out the series. That was the moment where he should have gone 3-1. I asked him about it. He said he just got incredibly nervous. Like he said, my heart started beating at 200 beats per minute, whatever number he said. He's like, it was beating out of my chest. I couldn't use my brain anymore. I just wanted to end the game. And he's like, yeah, obviously I should have never done it like that because he was in a great position. So.
Oh, that's
unfortunate, but so close.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, that's very sad now. So yeah, big props to Snoot for almost doing it. So we had Jaedong versus Gumiho. A lot of people thought, Jaedong was done for this year, as in, like, he wouldn't do anything, like, spectacular. All his tournament results were always lackluster, as in done too much this year. Kane, did you watch Gumiho versus Jaedong?
I did, yeah. And before the series, I was on Twitter. I was saying there's no way Jaedong will win this. Like, I thought it was going to be a 3-0 or 3-1 for Gumiho for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Gumiho has some really, really sick TVZ right now. Like, it's pretty mech focused. So I was sure that Gumiho was going to take it, but Jaedong managed to pull it out, man. Like, they weren't long mech games from what I saw either. They were pretty good games, and yeah, Jaedong just kind of knew how to handle them.
Were they as good as 4GG versus Life on Catalina?
What happened on Catalina? I was there watching
That was the epic game, dude. The one that went on super long with like actual spread out forces and 4GG not mining from a base that he had for 20 minutes.
yeah. The one that Life should have won. But
Yes.
Yeah. They weren't that epic from what I saw. Like maybe 1 or 2 games were pretty good, but yeah, most of the games were pretty. I don't know. They weren't standard, but they were straightforward. I don't know.
Okay. Next up is Rain versus 4GG. To me, it really feels like Rain is becoming a more complete player. Like, he's not afraid to throw in more proxy stargates and to be more aggressive, because he kind of knows he doesn't have a choice. That Rain versus 4GG on Foxtrot was pretty fun. It was casted on the B stream, which was a little weird, but yeah, it was just 4GG just trying to be super aggressive, trying to win it. Kevin, did you watch the games?
I watched as much as I could, but then I had to be on my own desk because I had to start casting myself. So I was very sad about it because I wanted to watch the games. I actually missed the first game. Someone just tweeted out, he's like, hey, this is going on. And my Wi-Fi was kind of shaky, but like, while they were in my ears, like, all right, we're going live in 2 minutes. I'm like trying to watch the last moments of 4GG versus Rain, I was doing my best. I saw the game. It's hard to remember actually, but I mean, like you said, it was unfortunate. For the people who wonder why it wasn't broadcasted, is that we didn't have enough time to actually do all the best of 5s and then also the best of 7 final. So they decided to go with the first 2 series because they thought that that's what the fans wanted to see. And I couldn't disagree with it because obviously everyone wants to see Jaedong and everyone wants to see Snoot as well because he's the foreign hope. But yeah, it was pretty frustrating for me because I really wanted to either cast or at least watch Rain, and then I couldn't because I had to get ready for my own series. But yeah, I was happy that he won though.
Yeah. It was disappointing for my insanity too because we just picked up Rain, and then he makes it far in this tournament and he's on the B stream. Like we didn't get any publicity for that. Obviously he made it to the final, so it worked out. But if he had lost there, that really sucks for us. I don't think it was very fair.
I mean, it has to do probably, I didn't really go into details with Carmack because he was busy enough, but what I can imagine is that, that venue is extremely expensive, I think, because, it's this ice hockey stadium from the San Jose Sharks, and it's not the type of venue where it's just like, you guys want to go till 2 a.m.? Sure, man. Thumbs up. You're the only one here at the keys, make sure to lock it. It's not like that. There are still a lot of people working in that arena that normally work there and stuff. So every hour that goes past the hour that they said they would rent the place is an hour that's very expensive. So they just had to make these compromises, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. You would think they would want the DreamHack winner versus Rain instead of Jaedong Gumiho. They went for fan favorites. There was no perfect choice here. Because if you pick Rain 4GG and then the Jaedong fans at the venue,
Yep.
they'd be pretty sad, especially if Jaedong lost.
I mean, like, for us as diehard StarCraft fans, like Rain versus 4GG, at least for me as a Protoss, definitely is something I would get a little bit more hyped over than Jaedong versus Gumiho. But I think most people in that building would prefer Jaedong versus Gumiho. Like, if you're a neutral viewer, like, it's very likely that they know who Jaedong is.
Yeah.
It's not that likely that they know Rain or 4GG, you know. Those are
Yeah,
not
for
like,
sure.
yeah, if for the diehards like us, like, yeah, of course, we know they're world-class players, but
Mhm.
that's us.
So the semis, Hero beating Jaedong. Kane, did you watch the games?
Hero beating Jaedong. I did watch the games, yeah.
Yeah. Your thoughts? Is the Dong outdated in his strategies?
I don't know, to be honest. I just felt like Hero played better. I felt like he kind of had more of a plan throughout the series, whereas Jaedong, it didn't feel like he was freestyling it, but it kind of felt like he, in a way, he was just like going with the flow, you know? But I think Hero knew exactly what he was going to do, and he executed it really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would agree with that. It felt like it would truly need a miracle for Jaedong to win that series, like an absolute miracle. You know, the game on merry-go-round he played very well. He shut his stuff down early on, and he just controlled the pace of the game after that. But from that point on, like on Nimbus, it just kind of felt that he was lost a little bit. Like it seemed like okay, you know, like Hero is gonna have a hard time killing Jaedong now, but Jaedong is going to have an even harder time to actually win this game. Like, how does he plan on winning this game? You know, it didn't really seem like it would go anywhere. It was unfortunate because it would be sick hype if like Jaedong would have gone to the final. Of course, you know, Hero is hype as well because he already won a bunch of IEMs and stuff. But you know, if Jaedong would have pulled that one off, that would have truly been the upset of the tournament for me.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there's hope for Jaedong for next year? Like now that he doesn't have to travel so much for WCSNA and there's more Korean qualifiers and tournaments to play in. Nathanias.
So a lot of what I've heard this year from people that are friends with Jaedong or whatever is that he kind of like he's been doing a lot of like traveling and outside of like obviously like going to events, he spends a lot of time like wherever he goes. Like he's kind of just enjoying his life, which to me is like, you know, from a person, a professor, is like, yeah, of course, you want to go out and like enjoy these different places that you go and you compete and blah blah blah. But I've been basically put under the impression that it hasn't been like that epic grind that we always talk or hear about Korean players doing, and I think that's contributed to, and I think there's a fair amount of people that would agree with me, like not as good results as we'd expect from Jaedong, which feels weird to say because like yeah, he made top 16 WCS points, but I really expected more. I don't know. I'm really not sure. I can't imagine he's gonna like leave EG or anything next year. But if he can only play in Korea, then I guess it should be easier.
Yeah, for sure.
I think there's a lot of hope for Jaedong, but it's like Nate said, this year he hasn't indeed been on like the super epic practice journey grind. A couple of times you do see it like pretty immediately in his play. Like he did very well against an in-shape bomber at WCS. That was a pretty good series where he had some good ideas and he had some good execution of whatever he wants to go. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough, but that's probably because bomber was like in really good shape, and TVZ, you know, bomber doesn't really lose a whole lot of series either. He's extremely good in it. But I think in 2015, you know, if Jaedong takes like 2-3 weeks of rest now, just takes his sweet time, and hopefully he comes back with a lot of energy, puts his signature under another beautiful EG contract, will perhaps now even have more dirty esports dollars, then there is a good chance, you know, that we see something very special of Jaedong in 2015. But he is truly going to have to go all out. Like, just talent is not enough in SC2, you know, you need to truly go on that epic little junior grind, because there are still so many Koreans who work so hard trying to get that extra paycheck in.
Yeah, that's very true.
I don't blame the guy. I mean, like he's been pro gaming for so many years now,
Mm-hmm.
and he's probably never had an opportunity where he's on a stable, solid team, and he gets to travel around to all these foreign tournaments, all these foreign places that he's probably never been before. Yeah, I don't blame the guy at all. I would probably do the exact same. Like, and that doesn't mean that next year is going to be the same. Like next year, like you guys are saying, he could be absolutely in shape again. He could be grinding sick practice hours. Yeah, I think there is a lot of hope as well.
My personal wish would be to see him join, maybe like Genera, not join the team, but just join the team house and to play in Pro League. I don't think he'd want to commit, like you said, Kane. He's been playing for so long, but that'd be my personal wish, seeing more of Jaedong in Pro League. And I think it would help the Korean scene as well, you know, that Jaedong Flash rivalry. That could happen. That could be revived. Moving on to the second semis, Rain Bomber. A lot of people said Bombers look out of shape before the round of 8. So, Kevin, your thoughts on the semifinals?
Yeah, that was actually very fun. I mean, like, but he did actually very well in the semifinals. He won game number 1. A couple of the other fights, they were relatively close. Like, especially on merry-go-round, I think Bomber played very good. It's a tricky map for Protoss, though, but he just played well. But yeah, Bomber against Super was hilariously bad. Like, I love Bomber, and he doesn't mind me saying this kind of things, because I spoke with him about the series as well. But he had a hidden base for like 12 minutes, and he still barely hang on against some Colossus Blink Stalker pressure. And it was just the funniest thing. Because he had so much money, he had double starport very early on, and he's producing 4 Vikings at a time. But then the Vikings are just like flying, like, yeah, it was on Deathwing. They just fly from the natural to the main all the time, and they take a small shortcut compared to the bio. So they just get picked off over and over again, and just keeps losing all his Vikings. And meanwhile, on the low ground, there are like 3 Colossus there with 0 backup, absolutely nothing, and he could have just sent his freaking Vikings to the Colossus and kill it, but he just kept sending them to the Blink Stalkers, and they kept getting picked off, which was really funny. It was pretty bad play, but in the end he did win because he mined like 15,000 resources more than poor Super did, you know. But yeah, Bomber looked pretty out of shape in the group stages.
Yeah. Which Nathanias, yeah, I assume you didn't catch the games.
Which ones?
The
Rain Bomber?
Yeah, Rain Bomber.
No, I missed it. I saw the final. That's like the only match I was able to tune in for because it was around the time I was waking up.
The finals was crazy, man. It was so crazy. I thought Rain had it. Rain, Storm has been a little bit more common, but definitely not as well executed as Rain did. You know, proxying the Templar archive so you can hide the Storm research. And then just storm dropping to get even further ahead, waiting to make Archon just to have Storm with his army, because I know Rain didn't like Immortal Charged Lot Archon so much. Even back in Pro League, he'd have a playstyle where he would just do Zealot Archon like with 0 Immortals. But that was a pretty crazy game. I'm surprised to not see you cast, Kevin. I think it would have been nice to have Protoss casting in the finals, but what were your thoughts? You and I guess Todd were probably watching together.
Yep. I mean, he joined after a few series. I was sitting in the audience with Jesse Love, the degenerate that lives in SoCal, California. He's really cool. But yeah, I watched the games. I thought they were pretty awesome. I liked the Storm, but like, sometimes I think people misread it a little bit as well. It's like, oh my god, Storm is like the new meta. It's like, you know, Storm can be good, but the biggest problem is that you have to be able to get away with it. And even though that Foxtrot lab game, like, he won it, and Rain played very well that game, I still think in the end the ball was in Hero's corner. But he was playing against an army that didn't have anything that could break force fields. It was just like 5 Immortals and a bunch of Zealots, and then he just keeps warping in more Stalkers. Like, he had like 3 Colossus and then like 15 Stalkers, but he couldn't tank any shot at all from any of those Immortals because everything died so quickly. And then later on, after he lost a bunch of his Stalkers and lost even more pros at home, that's when he started warping in Sentries and Zealots. I think if like he would have executed that attack better, then we would have already been looking at a different series. But overall, it was really fun to see Storm, and he made excellent use of it. But it's not always the right position, like we saw in the final game on Catalina, where, you know, suddenly you invest in Storm and then your opponent attacks you right before Storm is ready, and then it's like, well, I could have had like 7 extra gateway units instead of these High Templars that don't really do anything now. Of course, they were able to feed back the Phoenixes in that fight, but he definitely wanted to have Storm. It's a big investment, and he didn't have it, and then he died because it wasn't ready yet in time.
That Catalina game seemed like a train wreck. The 2 Stargates made in front of the Observer. It was like, Rain, why are you doing this? I also think it's pretty cool that there was no proxy 2 gates. Like, they sort of like were respecting each other and making sure like they wouldn't die to the silliest build ever. And yeah, no, it was just a great series. It was one of the best PvPs for sure. That game on Overgrowth when it was Rain who set up a flank he split his army in half, and he was getting. I'll put it up. That was incredible. Like, as hero, you're not supposed to survive that ever, like at all, like ever in your lifetime. But hero made it work. You could say Rain didn't focus fire with the Immortals on the Colossus as much as he could have. But that was just a really nice fight. I feel like that sort of fight can show the people that PvP can be a great matchup. Like, it's not all about a death ball and about the unit count. It's a lot about positioning. But yeah, I'm showing it on stream right now. Kevin, were you happy that Hero won again?
I mean, yeah, I'm kind of like 50-50 on moments like that. Like, I would have liked to see Rain win because I said in the start of the tournament on the day one that I thought he was going to win. But I like Hero too, and I also said before the final start, like, this is like gonna be Rain's biggest task, obviously, because like it's a 50-50 matchup between those two. You know that they're both world-class players. A couple of really cool things happened in this series as well, like that one fight on Overgrowth I thought was like really freaking cool to watch. Unfortunately, Colossus still a little too much DPS, so it didn't matter, but still, just cool shit. I didn't really care. I would have liked to see Rain win because I really like him and I think he's a world-class, like, he's my favorite pros player, but Hero is extremely good too. So I was just hoping for a great finals and we got that. Like, I'm pretty easy with stuff like that.
I was happy as Hero's biggest fan. I was quite interested. I tuned in like when I turned the stream on. It was like on that big Overgrowth fight I saw as well, and it was just like, it's like, oh, is that really good surround on his army? And it's like, oh, Colossi. It's just like, oh, he's gonna be completely sandwiched. They just slowly tiptoed his way out of it. But yeah, I was very happy to wake up and see Hero win. But yeah.
I think it's cool that we have consistent winners. In Korea, you had Zest winning so many and then finishing round of 4 for a lot of other tournaments, and then you had Hero just go overseas and win, I think, 2 or 3 IEMs and then finish second, and the winner takes all RIP tournament this year. So really great Protosses coming out of Korea. This is just really, really cool. So that concludes IEM. Hero wins $10,000, and then Rain wins 5K, and will doesn't win. But he broke my insanity blessing, by the way.
Yeah, I know, but he was really close, so
yeah.
We'll say that it counts anyways.
Yeah.
Was Penguin with him in Cali, or?
No, Penguin was in Switzerland still. Oh. I know that all the guys stayed up super late to go watch the finals. It was like 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. and
that's why Rain didn't win. He didn't have his official water boy with him. Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Hot6ix Cup. We're not gonna cover every match because we didn't watch every match, but there's still a lot of man. Liquipedia has been so slow lately. There's been pretty good matches. A lot of Protoss and a lot of Terrans. So if you're Nathanias or if you're a Terran fan, this is sort of the tournament to catch up on. If you used to watch a game in Wings of Liberty and you came back and you still like Marine King because he's adorable, this is also the tournament to watch. There was some pretty cool gifs of like Marine King's family just being happy for him finishing second, beating Zess 3-2. Nathanias, is there any series that you watched that stood out to you, or you didn't catch much of Hot6ix?
I did miss a lot of the matches. I watched some of the earlier rounds. I mean, I'd pull it up.
Like the round of 16?
Yeah. That was like a little bit before I was actually doing a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Having an actual work schedule made it difficult to like stay up and actually watch everything.
Okay,
I tried to stay up late to watch the IEM games.
Well, I think the only notable thing is Marine King making a comeback and Sky High finishing top 4. It's finally nice that CJ's gonna have like a good third player after Byung and Hero. So it's really nice for them. Hopefully they'll do well in Pro League this year. And for those that missed the finals, I watched them. It's basically SOS makes a Zealot a Stalker in a Mothership, puts pressure, either wins the game or gets ahead, does some DT, wins the game, does Phoenix Colossus, wins the game, and Marine King just then died to just pressure builds and didn't know how to play versus Phoenix Colossus. That was mostly it. I want to show a shot of the crowd. This is weird to me. You know, they did GSL 3 seasons, and they did the finals inside the studio. But for this finals, they rented out a place, and I don't know if they never rented because they thought they wouldn't fill it up. But man, the place was packed. If you guys want to start or watch the stream right now, I'm showing footage. There's also the link in the document. So it was pretty packed. There's a lot of people. Even Muru tried to lift SOS because you know they always lift the winner. But yeah, that was really cool. Rotterdam, any thoughts on the Hot6ix?
Well, I tried to watch as much as I could, but it was really hard because I was in San Jose. So like one night I was watching Marine King versus S, but that was wrapping up at like 1 a.m. and I had to cast the next day again, so I couldn't watch everything. But yeah, what I saw from the audience, that looked pretty good indeed, and I kind of wonder, I was wondering myself as well, like, hey, where did all these fans suddenly came from? I thought we had a dead game in Korea, you know? So it's only the audience was packed, and you know, I saw the family moments too with Marine King's family getting all teary and stuff. That was cute, beautiful. So yeah, interesting. I mean, like, audience-wise, it looked great. Other than that, it was just... you know, if those people wouldn't have been there, I think it would have been a very, very sad thingy because it was kind of just like a gray warehouse with a good-looking stage, but that was pretty much like the only decoration that was in there as well. So, you know, if you compare it to, for instance, Red Bull Battlegrounds DC, where the entire arena looked fucking sexy with player portraits, you know, whatsoever, it wasn't like the most impressive thing ever, but the amount of people that were there, yeah, that was a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's for sure. No Zerg players doing well, so Kane, rip.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of it. Like, I watched Soulkeys versus Terran games, and those were pretty sick.
Mm-hmm.
But it always seems like Soulkey struggles a lot versus Protoss, so
yeah.
Didn't watch his games versus Est. But his games versus Sky High and what was the other Terran in his group?
That's a very good question.
Flash,
yes.
Yeah. I watched all of those games, so those were really cool. And he has a very unique style versus Terran, and even on stream and stuff, I've been recording his VODs recently, and it's so interesting to watch.
Yeah? What's so special about his playstyle?
It's very uneconomical and very muta harass based. Like, he's not one of those players that gets a huge economy to start like Jadong would. He plays very safe in the early game, just gets his mutas out, and once his mutas are out, he always wins. Like, he just harasses, he does all the right things, his movement is great with them, his army movement is great, everything is really, really good.
Nice. So yeah, that wraps up Hot6ix Cup. Next up is another tournament no one watched except one person. Fragbite Master. Nathanias didn't have a choice.
This was like my contractual write-in in order to get me on the show. We had to talk about it a little bit.
Yes, I'm a sellout. Alright, so we add Fragbite Master. You guys, if you didn't hear about the tournament because of an individual making a name for himself, you've been living under a rock. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the finals. Finals was top. So there was a playoff, and 4 players made it to the LAN finals. Happy, the Russian player, MMA, the South Korean player, Bunny from Denmark, and Gumfu Panda. Who's Gumfu Panda? Well, we're about to find out. The German player. So not too many surprising results, except Happy losing 3-2 to Gumfu Panda. So a lot of people were like, oh, what's going on? And then Gumfu Panda beating Bunny 3-1, and then people were like, oh, what's going on? And then Gumfu Panda taking it to a game 7 versus MMA. Nathanias, your thoughts?
It was just funny because it was like I hadn't seen the finals yet of the Hot6ix Cup, but I had heard like some people were like messy because I kind of asked us, well, you know, what did SOS do against Marine King? And then some people were like, oh, some really cheesy stuff, and we kind of went on this thing about how it just seemed like, I don't know, like I feel like I heard in another match too, like Protoss players just been like busting out these crazy fucking builds against Terran and winning with them. And that's pretty much what Gumfu Bandit did, because he lost to MMA in the winner bracket. That was the only person he lost to in the whole tournament when he got knocked down to this point. And like in the actual finals, I did not expect him to beat Happy. but like he actually played like a macro game or two against him, but then he lost to MMA, and then him beating Bunny I found quite surprising. And I guess it's difficult to like go into the games because it's not like the only thing that was really cool was against Bunny and Happy, he managed to get away with like this really fast +2 charge. Like he either went for like the cheesiest build you could possibly do, or he went for like really, really greedy, just kind of hoping that he wouldn't take early damage. And it paid off pretty well basically every single time. That was what surprised me. But taking the 3 maps off MMA, I did not expect. Like the first thing MMA said when it was over, like he walked over to me into Muslim and he's just like, his build's so strange. It's like just really, really crazy batshit all-ins.
Yeah. Well, I know someone like Dishi was very vocal about not agreeing with the way the finals were being played. As in, like, he didn't think that was right, that Kung Fu Panda was doing so well. And he was cheering very vocally for MMA.
Yeah, the thing is, like, we flew the top 4 players out. Like, they were all in the studio with us. So it's not like you could say, oh, you know, like, Lilbo only beat Solar in the group stage because Solar was playing from Korea, right? It's like, oh, you know, but he took 3 maps while he was a meter away from the guy. So, like, Ben and I were both shocked because just, like, MMA should be able to do this, but if there's one thing I can say about Kung Fu Panda, he's got some fucking dirty blink control. One of the games, I think when he was down like 2-0 against Happy, he should have, and then before he won like 3 games in a row to come back, like he should have lost. The game was over, and he just did some really, really weird shit with DTs and blink and won. But that's like the thing that comes to mind is his blink control is good, and I guess when you're a cheesy bastard, you know, no offense, it's quite useful.
I like the way you guys did the way it worked. The playoff at a loser's bracket, and then your LAN finals at a 1-0 advantage.
Yeah. The way that we set it up so that we basically turned it into a group. From the tournament perspective, it's the best way to get like a decent number of games rather than just playing out like match, grand final, and then the fucking like 3rd place decider or whatever that nobody wants to watch.
Yeah, exactly. So, 3rd place decider is buskill.
I was really happy that Fragbite, like the tournament organizers, like they actually pushed because they've stepped up the tournament every single time it's been run. Like we didn't have a studio for the first season when I did it with Semler, and then the second season, like they got the studio built and everything, and then this season we had like even the couch, like Richard Lewis, who I think actually made it quite entertaining, like the time in between the games. And we actually got the players out there. So as far as the tournament goes, and I didn't hear any complaints from like any of the players. So even Happy tweeted out that he was like kind of glad about it. So I just wanted to make sure that props to them for like continuing to actually improve the tournament and still having like the highest prize pool of I think any cup that's mostly played online, because it was like MMA got 10 grand for winning.
Yeah, this is as much as winning IEM. This is really cool by Fragbite. It's nice to see that they're really invested and motivated to improve their production and tournament. So MMA walks away with 10K. Kung Fu Panda walks away with 5K and a lot of haters of his blink all-ins. And Happy and Bunny made like 2K and almost 3K for just showing up. So really, really cool. That happened last weekend. You can catch up the VODs. I'll put the link here in chat.
It was basically right before IEM.
Yes. Before we move on to the break, we're going to talk about Nathanias' favorite news item this week. The Widowmine damage decreased to 40 plus 20 shields instead of 40 plus 40 shields. Now, this is a bunch of numbers, and if you're not like an expert like us, you might be like, what the fuck is he talking about? So the Widowmines, the splash, it will kill Templars, it will kill Sentries. Now the splash of the Widowmine will leave the Sentry with 20 HP. Or 20 shields, I guess. How does that work? Yes, whatever. I'll have 20 HP left, so the splash won't... Because, you know, one Widowmine could blow up like 4 Sentries. And then if you're out 4 Sentries versus Terran, well, you have Force Fields, you have Guardian Shield, you have Hallucination, even the Templars. And David Kim Post, he said something that... it will take 3 shots for Zealots to die from Widowmine, which is pretty great. Nathanias, your thoughts on this balance change? Do you think it's needed? Do you think Protoss is suffering?
The first thing that I actually did when I heard about it, because like I was told there was going to be an announcement of something like a nerf or whatever, but I wasn't sure what it was going to be.
Yeah.
And then they announced it, and I was just like, why don't you just get rid of the bonus damage versus shields on the splash? Like in my opinion, the only reason why, like, so the Widowmine before it did the full 40 damage again, because most people don't think about it like in the way that the patches happened. Like the mine got nerfed, so it was like 40 for like a really small radius, then 25 and 10, and it was like plus an additional 40 plus an additional 25, 10. Like I thought that was like okay because the splash radius is really bad. But when they restored it to 40 against everything, like mines, like when they first added them, were not terrible versus zealots to begin with. Like I don't think that patch was necessary until they dropped the splash like the splash damage itself down to like go away over the distance. So like I think it makes a lot of sense. The Charge That Templar openings are the bane of my existence. I still don't think it's possible to get ghosts and medevacs out on 2 bases to defend the all-in builds, but it definitely would help a lot with Protoss players versus Terran.
What, they removed the ghost energy?
Yeah, I still think it's still difficult to do, but I'm just saying like I think with the way that the game is right now, like maybe with the ghost energy plus the full 40 damage, like maybe it's possible to defend without wanting to kill yourself. But yeah, I think it would give us much more interesting games to see people open +2 charge Templar instead of just this Colossus shit every game, because it kind of keeps Terrans from automatically going for the SCV pulls without thinking.
Yeah. One thing that I want to mention is, so there's this nerf, right? And we had an episode with Bunny, Todd, and TLO. So there's this nerf, and we still think Season 3 map pool is too good for Terran. And it is still too good for TVZ, but if we look at TVP, you had this nerf, Templar's more popular, maybe these maps are doable for Protoss. So the map pool for 2015 is gonna have to be really. They're gonna have to be careful, because if they nerf the map pool and they put this nerf in, then it might be too much. Rotterdam, what are your thoughts?
I mean, who cares? We're not gonna use these maps anymore. I hope, because I've seen a few too many games now on Overgrowth, and
they're gonna keep 3, man.
Well, then just keep
Fuck!
Which 3 would you keep? That's a good question.
I would keep 3 that are currently barely being used.
So Foxtrot, be a sadist.
I would say.
Yeah.
No, seriously. Like I would probably do that. Like, why? Who wants to see more Overgrowth? Come on, man. Like, it's a good map. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, Kane, shut up. It's a good map, but we don't want to see it anymore. It's overdone. So I would actually if I keep 3 maps current map pool, I'd probably be like Nimbus, Catalina, and Foxtrot, or maybe Deadwing instead of Nimbus. Like, that's probably what I would do, just because I've seen way too many games on King Sejong. Even Merry-Go-Round is already starting to get pretty old by now, and it's so hard for a Protoss player to deliver entertaining games. And even TVZ is often about 1 or 2 big fights in the middle of the map. Like, rarely do you see epic maps on those games. Well, on Nimbus, for instance, Nimbus does give us a lot of great games, so I would keep Nimbus. But yeah, I don't think that we have to panic now. The thing is, Terran players have not been practicing super late game for quite a while now, because how often do you still see them run around with a lot of Vikings and ghosts and shit? But a maxed out Terran that is even sacrifice SCVs already installed, that has 150 or 155 army supply of Ghost Viking with a bunch of bases, that army is not inferior to a Protoss army that's maxed out. It really isn't. It just comes down to execution. You scan a bunch, you have unlimited free vision, so you just scan, you see where the army is, and then you position your goals and you land some EMPs and you go for it, man. Life's beautiful. Start practicing, stop pulling the boys.
Yeah. I don't know much about TVP, but I think Blizzard's ignoring the big issue here, and that's the bunker build time. I think if they nerf that a few seconds, or maybe
You're such a good troll. I was actually listening in, and I was like, okay.
I was like, what's Kane about? I was like, Kane's about to go fucking ham on this right now. So Kane, did you have a lot more to say on that, Kane?
No, like all it does seem like and I don't know, I might be completely wrong, but what's going on is like Protoss feels limited in their openers, like they're not able to open Templar or Zealot, whatever that was, and I think that's what they're upset about. I don't know, like I don't really know much about TVP, so I can't really
It's a
say.
problem. It's a problem that Protoss really can only open Colossus because it makes it super predictable, and then Terrans can just start to do weird shit. But yeah. My biggest fear, and the reason why I like the Mind nerf, the reason why I really like the Mind nerf against Protoss is I would so much rather Protoss have like another option for a build than say, okay, well, we're just gonna only play on maps where your 3 bases are as close as your fucking balls. You know what I mean? Like, no, I think it's really boring. I'm actually, and it comes back to like how I would have preferred to see either like a change to the way that Blink builds work rather than no more maps with those big ramps, because we're starting to head down this weird alleyway again where people are going to be like, well, we can't have these maps. Like next season, if we have a map like Yansu or Heavy Rain, people are just going to bitch endlessly because people are going to blink all in every single game, and Protoss going to have an 80% win rate on it, and it's not going to be fun for anybody. Well, I guess except Protoss's. Now, if there's one map like that, and then there's one map like Merry-Go-Round, where the Protoss has a really fucking hard time, then you kind of force variety through the map pool. But if that's not what Blizzard's going to do, like, I'd be really upset if all the maps next season are like, okay, easy to take 3rd bases with unblinkable mains, because, you know, this is what everybody complained about in the last year. Like, that's my biggest fear. So I prefer to see balance changes like this that open up strategies that can handle maps better. That's just how I feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fair enough.
But you guys didn't answer my questions. Which map?
Well,
pick 3 map you'd keep for next season.
I agree with Right. I like Foxtrot.
Yeah.
And it's only because I've actually like barely played any games on it.
Yeah.
But it's a game. The maps that have been broadcasted to death are King Sejong, Overgrowth, and Merry-Go-Round. If any one of those maps sticks around, I will be the first to lead the charge of whining, even if 2 of those maps are Terran favored. So.
But out of the other maps, like, do you ditch Deadwing because it's like figured out and pretty boring, or and you keep Catalina?
I don't really like. I think Deadwing gives the least interesting games. It's like often super passive play by everybody. It's a good Swarmos map as well. I don't think we really need that. There are some tank shenanigans, but they're not really being used anymore on that map. Like, I don't know, Deadwing has never really got me on the hype train. Like,
actually,
if you ask me right now, like, name one fucking sick game of Deadwing.
Kappa.
Like, I think, to be honest, I think in this current map pool, the only 2 maps that are not repetitive and that are interesting is Catalina and Foxtrot. So if you look at Deadwing, it's a passive macro. If you look at Nimbus, you get a free fucking natural, so it's pretty passive in macro. Or it's just like a Doom
yeah, but
drop
it's a natural that's very droppable though. Like,
yeah.
Even though it's an in-base natural, it's still a natural that's very harassable. So,
okay. So Nimbus is the 3rd then.
I kind of like Nimbus. I think Nimbus gives us pretty alright games. But.
The thing is, in TVC, like Foxtrot and Catalina are just so hard for Zerg. Like, Catalina is like unwinnable almost. It's not unwinnable, but it's really tough. And Foxtrot, depending on the spawn positions, it can be just as tough. So something would need to be done about that.
Okay, that's cool. Alright guys, we're gonna take a small break. When we come back, part 2 of the show, community news, and then your questions. It's not too late to go on Reddit or to use the hashtag SC2Remax on Twitter. Thank you for watching. See you guys in 3 minutes. Right, you guys are muted.
I have to make some calls.